Thank you, Hall. I'm not going to use the microphone. I don't think I need it, do I? No, it's amazing. Today, 15 million people are going to tune in to watch a television show tonight doing exactly what you and I have to do. And we don't get any viewers. They're going to figure out how to staff their organization in the midst of people quitting, people getting old, people not as good as they used to be, new talent shortage. Isn't that amazing? Tonight's the NFL football draft. They don't do anything different than you do. Think about it for a minute. You've got a shortage of people and you need some. You want the very best, but you're competing with other people for them, right? You've got people on your team who aren't that good anymore, but you can't get rid of them. You know why? There's nobody to go get to replace them. This is a challenge. What we're dealing with altogether is the exact same challenge. We are in the desert looking for water, and there's very little water out there. Would you agree? Now, here's the other thing I got to tell you. There are no perfect answers to this equation. We've been talking about it every year. You know, we've been doing this 10 years, and we've been talking about staffing, innovation, employees, motivation. We've even talked about things as crazy as what kind of testing do you do to find the very best people that'll fit your culture? And we do it every year because this continues to be one of our single biggest challenges. But let me show you this. I stumbled upon this the other day. I actually took this picture in Phoenix when I was flying from San Diego. When I was flying from San Diego to Tulsa, I stopped in Phoenix. I went up to the little bar, sitting there having my chicken sandwich, and here comes this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, that's fabulous. So I take my phone out and I go, ka-ch, and then I start sending it to everybody because it's fantastic. I was talking to Ashley about this yesterday on the way. I love flying because I'm a Southwest guy. So I'm always on the flight early, one of those early guys that gets to go in. I sit down and I don't put on my computer or do anything yet. I watch people and what they wear. You know, it's the craziest thing. If we were logical characters, we would wear like a jumpsuit with boots, face mask, and then at the end of the flight, we just unzip and throw it away, right? But we're not logical. So if you're like at my house and you say, sweetie, are you all packed? And she says, no, I don't know what I'm going to wear on the plane. Really, who gives a shit? But everybody really does. People lay out their favorite outfit for a plane flight, and it's the one that expresses them the most. Think about it. Emily, am I crazy? Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm crazy, but am I right? We lay out clothes. We're like, okay, not based on comfort or function, but what we're gonna feel expresses us, that moves us. Where we walk down that aisle, you know, we're carrying all of our stuff, and we got a big backpack. We turn and we hit somebody. But this guy was the bomb. I'm like, I love that outfit. But this tells us a whole lot. Today we're going to talk about people. And my PhD is actually in management, in idea generation and creativity. And it's in the sciences. And yet management has very little to do with science. We use science to research people, but management is an art, is it not? If it was a science, I'd give you the equation, and then the conference would be done, and we go have ice cream. But we're going to have ice cream a little later. But it's an art. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about we're going to make sure we are all very insightful managers. We're going to look at the facts and the details. Then we're going to have to add creativity because we're going to have to become actionable leaders. The only response to the employee desert we face now is real actionable ideas. We're going to have to get creative. And I will tell you, I'm going to ask you to go from the incredible managers you are to a leader that has to change your culture to keep employees. I find no other solution. And I've been looking. Here's what Jim Collins, you guys have heard of Jim Collins, the author. He said, The single biggest constraint on the success of my organization is the ability to get and hang on to enough of the right people. Is that exactly right? Not pretty right, not mostly right, not, yeah, it's pretty good, Mark. That's right, isn't it? That is it. Okay? Here's the one that's wrong. This is Steve Jobs saying, go after the cream of the cream. A small team of A players can run circles around a giant team of B and C players. Oh, he's right. But in the hospice world, we have to have a lot of people. You can't run 580C with 6 of the greatest people you've ever found in your life. Right? That doesn't work.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, boom. So that's cute, Steve, but that's not what. That's not how we really roll. And here's what we find out there in the market. I love you people. I love you for getting that. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. This is the employee desert we're dealing with right here. Okay. Now, a couple of years ago, Emily and I, we were all excited because if you know, Jordan, will you wave at everybody? I hired Jordan. He's awesome. Emily, I hired Emily. She's incredible. Where's Debbie? She's gone somewhere. Where's Jamie Wilson? Jamie, right there. I hired Jamie. Okay, so the talent at PDC is pretty freaking great. So theoretically, if you took your very best people and you did a survey and you find the commonalities of those incredible people, and then you say, okay, these are the things we want. Now let's go research the marketplace, and everybody that comes in as a candidate has to fit in one of these categories, and these are the characteristics we're looking for people that will thrive, survive, and thrive in our culture. But testing is not enough because you get these kinds of ridiculous responses to tests. Color half of the sweets. Yeah, well, they did the answer correctly. So we got a challenge. So testing and tools, IQ tests, personality tests, I believe they're really important. I believe that you do want to screen your employees as much as you can out of the pool you've got and find the people that will most fit your culture, okay? I believe that's a big deal. The challenge is that the pool we have to draw from is very, very small. And we're going to be a little bit more creative in allowing who maybe to make it in. If the pool were 200 and we were going to pick one, it would be pretty easy to do that. We could have all the rules we want. But when the pool is 4 and you got to pick one, that's a real big challenge. Mindy, did you have a question?
So I appreciate the idea behind the test. But again, like you said, you have a pool of 4, and you just had 2 CNAs quit, and you have 50 patients on in half the part of town, and you just lost 2 of your CNAs, and you need to get good care.
Yes. I understand. That's why I'm saying these tools, in a perfect world, you want to do this. We don't live in a perfect world right now. We're in a real challenge because I have to have somebody now, and we know as a group, and we've heard today, this afternoon, for those of you who've never seen it, today you're going to get to see a thing called The Perfect Visit at 3 o'clock. It's an optional session. It's incredible. If you've never kind of heard the concept of The Perfect Visit, you absolutely want to be there. Okay? So in a perfect world, we would find the very best candidates out of a large pool, train the heck out of them, and then launch them successfully into the world, right? But now we've got a world where it's almost like, hi, how are you doing? What's your name? Here's your badge. Let me take you in. It's almost that bad, right? Okay. So we need clear direction because 10 years I've been up here talking about stuff, and we've all had lots of good giggles. We've had a great time. We've learned things. We've said, this is really good, but we've never had an experience like what we're dealing with right now. So we really need some clear direction. So what I want to talk about today is, sadly, yesterday, I had to say, this is what I see about ACOs. And I delivered information I wasn't really excited about delivering. That there's a lot of extra crap that comes along with signing that agreement to be on the network for an ACO. Today, I also believe that in order to be successful, you as managers are going to have to take on another role. And that other role is about what motivates employees. Because it's hard enough to get them, now we got to try to find out what are the things that motivate them so they'll stay. That's going to be our focus for today. Okay? Let's look at our different generations for just a moment. See, so when I talk about management, it was really in the sciences, but it's very much an art. You have to look at trends. And I want us to think about, what I did is I did this crazy personal test. I said, okay, baby boomers. This is, we'll see the age, but this is up until 1964, right? So I'm 1965, so I'm what we call a baby buster or Gen X. You all know what stopped the baby boom? The introduction of the birth control pill, 1964. So birth control pill comes, the baby boom is over, we move into another generation. So I missed it by 1 year. However, I'm the youngest of 4 children, so I grew up like a baby boomer, even though I was Gen X. So that's why I'm a baby buster. So what I said is, during this generation, what's the most popular movie during that entire multi-decade category? And it was The Godfather. Okay? Number 1, without question, hands down. I mean, you may not like it. That's not relevant. It's by volume, what was the most viewed movie? Gen X, I resonate with this. I remember one time sitting down with my dad, and I was probably 16 or 17, maybe a little older, and I said, Dad, if you want to know my culture, watch this movie. But I didn't remember, there's a lot of stuff I didn't want my dad to see. Did you ever have that experience? I finally got to the point where I'd say, okay, listen, I did not write, direct, or act in this movie. I'm just trying to show you a piece of art, okay? So, The Breakfast Club. Does anybody resonate with that movie? Yes, very good. Okay, now, watch where we go. Next, the millennials, Napoleon Dynamite. I couldn't believe it. I had to look at multiple sites to find out, yes, Napoleon Dynamite had enormous volume within that generation. And finally, Gen Z, Minions. Now here's what's interesting. Look at the trend from heavy structure, okay? No, seriously, heavy structure to I don't like your structure, to a movie that has nothing to do with structure, and I really don't know what this is. I really don't. I've tried to watch it a couple of times. I don't make it through like 10 minutes. Okay. All right, so let's look. Here's the characteristics that are common about baby boomers, and I want you to notice that what is happening as we go through these generations or these groups is you're finding a more and more dynamic expectation of life. You're going from stronger culture to more and more fluidity, movement, relaxation, okay, and independence. So here are the baby boomers. They love a competitive workplace. They need recognition. They desire to make a difference. Now, I'm not saying that this is different, that other people don't want to make a difference. They do. I'm just saying these are the characteristics that research tells us about this generation. And they want to be involved in decision making. Let's look at Generation X, 1965 to 1976 birth. promote company culture. They were big. This is the first generation to ever say, I want a work-life balance. This is the first one. The baby boomers never even thought of that as a critical item. They knew this is how much you work. I mean, think about the baby boomers. Their parents came out of World War II and worked all the time. I mean, this is what you did. You got up early. You shaved every day. You put on a tie. You put whatever, you dressed and you go. When you went on an airplane, you dressed up. I mean, this is a different generation. This is the first group that started talking about work-life balance. And look at here, you'll say, now all of a sudden the millennials are saying, no, not just a work-life balance, a healthy work-life balance. So you're seeing it's becoming more and more fluid, more and more dynamic. They thrive, and this is where the next two generations are when they were most interested in how they get feedback. How they're told by you, their boss, how they're doing in an organization. They public praise for their accomplishments. They value continuous feedback. They thrive on respectful, encouraging language. And this is really interesting. When we get to this generation of young people today, they are incredibly self-motivated. This is one of the things I'm just so interested in is an entire generation that does not ever want to work in an office. They can work anywhere. They can work right out there on that step by the bush, sit down with their laptop and their coffee and be very productive. And I can't. Yeah. I can't. I'd be terribly uncomfortable. There'd be bugs, distractions, the light's not perfect. I literally go out of my way to find a private work type environment. Even if I have a computer out, I still want a pen somewhere, right? So it's a radically different approach. So what we have to understand is, going back to this, these different groups within our work environment, they're different than you and I. The people in different categories are different, and we have to understand and respect them, or we'll never be successful managing them. All right, now, I've gotten all the way, this is all lead up to this I love this. I'm super excited. We're going to compare what motivates employees, what employers think, against the most recent research this year, actually ended in 22. That's pretty good research for research people. The top 10, these are what employees think. Employers think everybody wants dollars. Money, 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 money. That's the number one. This is what employers think. Job security, that's what they want. They want job security. So we're going to tell our employees, this is a strong, strong company. We haven't failed. We've got, one of the things I used to do all the time is tell employees, we as an organization have 6 months of working capital in reserve. We never distribute a dollar of money until we've got enough money to make sure that nobody ever worries about getting paid. Do you know that? I'll show you how important that is later to employees. Okay, promotions. Employers think that number 3 is in promotions. Working conditions, interesting work, loyalty for company, tactful disciplining, appreciation, sympathy for personal problems, and feeling of belonging. This is the list in order of top priorities, what employers think. Well, let's look at what employees think. Employees say, number 1, I want to be appreciated. Wait, where's the dollars? Where's job security? Where's promotion? I want a feeling of belonging. This is interesting because you guys know you can have access to these slides, but isn't it funny, Mindy, one of the things that we love in a perfect world, we'd want we'd want to have a week in advance to get ready for an employee so that we have a name, their name badge, their stuff, their computer all set up, everything done, so that when they come in, they feel welcomed and ready. And yet we're going 100 miles an hour. How can we do that? So I told you, I don't have any answers. I have research. We're going to have to discuss that together. This afternoon, we've got, I think it's this afternoon, we've got a 1 o'clock, we've got a panel of experts And they're experts because they're in the mud this deep. Right, Danny? You're on that expert group. Danny, how many employees do you guys have in your whole organization? About, okay, 1,000 employees. Yeah, is that a handful? Yeah. Are you deep into this situation? So we're going to talk about these issues, and we are going to have to talk about these issues because there's no way I can just jump up here and say, oh, by the way, A plus B equals C, so do A and B. All right. Sympathy for personal problems. Number 3. What does that mean? That means an employee needs to be able to call you and say, I had a bad day yesterday. I'm not coming to work. And then they expect that you will not fire them. That is what they believe right there. Interesting work. Wait, I can't believe we haven't seen money yet. Where's dollars in job security? Oh, there's job security. Dollars, number 6. Promotions, loyalty from company, working conditions, tactful disciplining. Look at this. They're just about opposite. Did you find that as interesting as I did? So here's what we have. Billy.
So is this information based on upper management to like CNAs and whatnot, or is it more like any level?
This is the global work environment, not specific to hospice. Yes. This is what employers think are the most important items to employees, and this is what employees think.
Any level of
That's right.
employment.
But what we're dealing with, there was no age there was no discrimination. It was throughout the entire population of people that responded to the survey. But it was a big survey. But it's very, very interesting because what it's showing is what we believe to be based on who we are. And I'm a godfather, baby boomer, millennial, or Gen X. Sorry, I'm a baby boomer, Gen X. I watched The Godfather and then The Breakfast Club, and I'm thinking from those viewpoints while I'm hiring people that are Napoleon Dynamite and minions. Okay? And I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm just saying this is different. We come from a different viewpoint, and until you and I change the way that we perceive what's important to them, we're going to struggle keeping them. Okay, here's the tough part of our discussion for today. This is how I see you. I see you as tough, detailed, strategic, driven, accountable, dynamic, visionary. Donna, I swear to God, when I put that up there, I thought of you. That's how I see you. Yeah, like Superwoman. This is what it's going to take to keep, especially CNAs. So you're most likely going to have to make some adjustments to the way that you bring in and love on your people in order to keep them, and you're going to have to do it on purpose. Okay? So look at what we have to be. Adaptive. Why did I put adaptive? Because they want you to be sensitive to the fact that yesterday was a really bad day. Okay, just a little quick story. I was a very young professor at Oral Roberts University. And one of the things that frustrated, because you're a very young professor, you get 7:50 a.m. classes every day. You're the guy that gets the 7:50s, okay? So I would be teaching and me at 7:50 on the dot, boom, here we go. Bah, 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 bah. I'm writing, we're going to town, and if you miss it, you miss it, I don't care. So somebody come in and say, Mark, I was up half the night praying, this is Oral Roberts University. I was praying with one of my wing mates who's going through a little problem, and I just overslept. You know me, I'm like, tough shit. You missed my class. I'm serious. You're supposed to be in an attitude of prayer all day long. Pray without ceasing. You don't have to stop and pray right now, but you need to have your butt in my class. There are no excuses. So I came from this other culture that said, be there at 7:50. But this generation that we're trying to manage wants you to be sensitive to their unique and very special needs. Yes?
How do you deal with California office or hospice? I am
No, I love California.
Okay, so first, a lot of the young nurses are expecting $55, $70 an hour for hospice. And we kind of laugh like, yeah, right? But out there are hospices that are offering that. But right now, I'm the floppy director for regional floppy director, and I'm training a new floppy director who's about my age. But we have a company policy of all the managers do a week of manager on call. We're just backup, but she has already said, I'm only working 8 to 5, and I'm not doing manager on call. And I'm like laughing, because this job is not an 8 to 5 job.
Yeah.
And our culture is all managers take a turn being manager on call. And then we're just backup, it's for phone calls and questions. And I'm trying to be very, politically correct. I'm not a politically correct person, but I'm trying to be very uplifting, and because she's realizing how much is involved in coffee. And she's starting to freak out a little bit. And so I just say, we take one day at a time. You ask me questions, but her attitude of what she expects doesn't necessarily align with what the job is.
Because that's that personality test.
Oh,
So-
she would not pass a personality test.
I think what we're going to get to in this discussion, and we're going to continue it this afternoon with the panel, is I think what we're going to get to the fact is we have to build an internal system that makes people want to stay. And is Ryan still here? Ryan, I think part of our digital marketing social media campaign, our broad brochure approach to communicating the marketplace is to show how great our company culture is, so that we can steal really good talent from places who aren't respecting their desire for love and appreciation.
Didn't you feel like you're wasting time training someone on all this stuff that you just know in your gut that this is not going to work out?
Agreed. So if you're, I hate to use the term, but if you're stealing someone from the hospital system because they're sick and tired of it, then you're not wasting your breath. They're taking a small pay decrease to come and do something that they absolutely love. But you had better build the culture that supports what you said, that this is an environment of love. Okay? Acceptance, appreciation, belonging, mission. Billy.
I think it's important. I've been to Mark's office 100 times. Great place, great culture. I think it's important for you to explain to employees and a different group of people that really care about PDC and everything there. And you guys, everybody's happy always. I don't know what kind of
Okay, I'm going to, I'm going to be very honest to say I'm embarrassed of the mistakes that I make as a leader, but we've got a great company culture. We had a person, one of the things that I've realized about myself, and we've got Debbie and Emily back there verifying this, they don't allow me to hire anymore because I love everybody. I'm a terrible picker. I love that person. And Emily's like, no, do not hire them, right? Is this correct? So I get to be the last one to maybe interview, or I'll pop in, or I'll meet them at the door and sit down with them and pretend I'm just nobody, but I don't get to interview anybody because I love them all. Okay, so we are very protective of our culture. And not long ago, somebody was hired, and I met them on the first day. And I went in and said, hi, how are you doing? How's your first day going? And the person said, well, I really think I'm going to like it here. It's unlike my past company. And I said, oh, well, what was your past company like? She said, well, it was really the Island of Misfit Toys. And I said to myself, have you met my partner, Paul Hagen? No, right? I said, we have people with purple hair. We've got a 6'7" guy who has a parrot on his shoulder. A live one. We have dogs. We have multiple different cultures. We don't care what your faith is. We care what your character is. So I cannot imagine, and I said to her, I cannot imagine a better description of PDC than the Island of Misfit Toys. I love that. Now I want t-shirts. Seriously. Because it was like the greatest compliment. She meant it as an insult, and I said to Emily, that girl ain't gonna last two weeks. And she didn't. She was gone in no time. And she went voluntarily. But we do have some problems. I will tell you right now that one of our problems is we love people so much we won't fire them. Okay? That is a problem. Because all of a sudden, let's say, I've got Joe Stevens, that's the name I always use. I got Joe Stevens, and Joe has been mediocre or worse for a couple of years, that it's time to go. And then I find out that Joe and his wife just bought their dream house. Or they sold their house and they're about to buy their dream house. And if I fire Joe now I interfere with his ability to get the dream house. And my employees and my customers and all the patients that we serve are much more important than money. So I just hang on a little longer. Because we're not, you know what I mean? Jamie's back there going, damn it, Mark. You understand exactly what I'm saying? Yes. So are we perfect? No. And I will tell you, among the 3 companies in Tulsa, they each have a different personality. So Benveo is much more corporate. Medalist is very close little family-ish, quiet little company. And PDC is like, woo-hoo-hoo! And they're awesome. But it's the customer we serve is radically different. So PDC deals with the stress of a nurse standing bedside with a patient with uncontrollable pain, and you got to discontinue a med and get a med, and you got to do it now. Okay? That's a different culture than Medalist or Benveo. Okay? So it's tough. One of the things that makes our company great is Paul Hagen comes into the office in flip-flops and shorts and a pullover, and he walks around and talks to everybody. And he knows everybody's name. He knows their dog's name. He knows their kid's name. He knows it all. He knows everybody. And he's willing to work till 4 a.m. That's when you find him at work. It's 4 a.m. because at 11:30 he's walking around loving on everybody. It's just, there's no book for this. This just happens to work. And then we got, for PDC, we got Jamie and Dude and Jordan just run the place. And Paul does strategy and technology and loves on people. It's kind of weird. Right? You guys, any comments? It's awesome. Yes, Mark.
I just wanted to say, for us, one of the struggles that I had, we can't be all things to all people. You said it's very important you know who you are, what your company is, what your company is, and don't share where you're at. Don't be afraid to have those rigid boundaries. I know a lot of times we want to bring everybody to the fold. We want everybody to our church. I'm like, well, no, this is just how we do it. This is who we are. And we're probably not going to change, and you probably won't feel comfortable because this is who we are. So if you don't do that, you're going to lose the rest of your team, your culture, as you will. You're going to lose your saltiness. Without that, you put on the ground and try to flip. So, like Chick-fil-A doesn't serve hamburgers. I'm so sorry you want a hamburger. There's a McDonald's across the street. We don't serve hamburgers. I can tell you want a chicken sandwich, it's Sunday. We're not open. I'm so sorry you're hungry, it's Sunday. We're not open. And so having that mindset has really helped us to focus on what we need to focus on and attract the people we need to attract.
I know for myself, I'll sit there and like, I was training her on something and I said, you will need to know this because as manager on duty for the week, you may get questions on this. So, and I'm just kind of like letting her know, you will need to know this as a manager on duty. It's really not an option, especially in California where there's severely short staff. It's gonna have to do it. So, I'm trying to do it in a positive way. So that, because both of our hospices, we do feel like they're family. That's one of the first things that we get new employees saying is like, I feel like family. We have an LPN or LPN out here that she said this is the first company she's ever felt like she was part of the team. And that just melted my heart. You know, that's what we want. So
let's look at a small microcosm. In California, CNA makes X, and that same CNA could go across the street and work at Target for about the same money. They're not doing any baths. They're not helping change any diapers. They're not dealing with the stress and pressure of the family members. They're just stocking shelves. This is the challenge. Really getting down to the bottom line is if we decide that we're not going to touch everybody on the shoulder on a daily basis and love them and tell them something special about them, we're going to lose them. That's how hard this is. It's like I'm saying, out of your pie that's already crazy busy. Donna, can I pick on you just a minute? So, Donna, how many sites do you guys have now? 11. Thank you. So 11 sites, lots of employees, lots of challenge. Her plate is full. Her plate is full. Now I'm asking her to take 1/3 of her plate and just love on people with that 1/3, or I'm afraid you're not going to have any people. That's where I feel like we are in this discussion. Yes?
I think I go through the most important thing on my desk is a box of thank you cards.
Oh, and you're so good at it.
There you go. And are they handwritten?
Yeah.
I love that. Yes.
I buy funny ones
And she mails them to our employees' home.
Yeah.
and not the job, but home. Because I don't know, I went back to like what the employees want, because I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I make more mistakes than you, I guarantee you. But making an employee feel part of your team, believe it, you can teach them how to do the job, but you can't teach them care. But can you? Because you're a magnet for that. Everybody, my daughter wants to work for PDC. I'm going to retire but I work for PDC. You're a magnet.
We want her. Yeah.
Those kind of people, you know, and
Well-
it's usually.
Let me point at that one. Emily, stand up. Emily does the craziest stuff day after day after day. Happy birthdays, thank yous, announcements, challenges, squat challenge, drinking water challenge, walk challenge, right? How often do you do it?
Once a month usually.
But how often do you do something like that? Every day?
A lot, because I like to do that stuff so it doesn't seem hard. And loving on people isn't hard to me. I think it's important to point out too that it's not just up to the leaders. You have like this ripple effect of people that you're managing that do that too. So it doesn't feel like this burdensome thing that you're in charge of it.
Jamie, wave it up. Jamie runs, she's head honcho. She does the most incredible call outs. I want to say, great job to so-and-so. And she'll write this like really long thing. So it takes forever to do it because Jamie does all the detail of all of it. But she celebrates people really, really, really well. And Eduardo back there, he's the sweetest no matter what challenge you're going through. He's very kind and patient and loving. I mean, we got a great, unbelievable team. Just people that love on each other in the midst of pressure. That is really tough. So what I'm saying is, this is a challenge. This is enormous. I've never meant that superhuman figure like it is now. So here's some ideas. Here's the leaders. If the intrinsic motivators that you're dealing with are appreciation, sense of belonging, sympathy for problems, interesting work, work-life balance, environment, positive competition, you're going to have to come up with an idea of how you as an organization are going to act in order to demonstrate an appreciation for those intrinsic motivators of your employees. Does that make sense? Having appreciation is not enough. Actions are required. So what I'm saying is, oh my gosh, look at that. Handwritten notes. I didn't even call you in advance to get that. Or,
Can we move to the next, like, and just confess it to these guys, terrible handwriting, terrible handwriting is absolutely embarrassing. I call and I ask and I pull people in, but actually handwriting would be embarrassing to the whole company.
one thing I absolutely love is when you go to Crossroads. Crossroads has 11 sites, and you go in there, and they've got these great job boards up where you could write a quick little note or picture and stick it up there, and they're celebrating people's actions. So the first thing everybody sees when they come in is this great job board. I mean, they really do a great job celebrating employees. But it's not enough, is it, Danny? I mean, it's one piece. Yeah. So, sense of belonging. I think that this is one I've been touching on. It's so important. Onboarding excellence. Being prepared for that person when they show up so that they believe that you are expecting them and excited to see them. And in today's turnover, we call that frictionality of the labor force. That turnover, it's hard to stay up to date with all that stuff. It's really tough. Sympathy for problems. I don't know how you're going to handle contingency planning for people that have a personal problem and just can't come to work. But you're going to have to think about flexibility instead of just running them off. How do we motivate them to work through their personal challenges, or how do we build a system to work around their need for flexibility? Interesting work. I like the idea of short team meetings where you just have stand-up and people talk about what they do. So everybody understands what other teammates are doing, and so that it becomes they feel like they're part of a bigger system. I mean, we did this a couple of years ago, and I really need to pick it up again. Work-life balance. Found out that one of our employees, Paul came to me one day and said, hey, one of our employees is paying 19.5% interest on her car payment because she's was all by herself at 16, lived with her grandmother passed away, now she works for us. She went and bought her first car, they stuck her at 19%. The truth in lending laws require them to disclose to that, but disclosures in microscopic print at the bottom of the contract, right? So what we started doing is having financial wealth planning, financial management and wealth training in our office. I couldn't believe how many people showed up. We are fortunate to understand a lot of things about money management that our employees don't understand. And taking 1 hour a month to do planning on how do you buy a car, how do you buy a house, what is what do you call the premium that you pay on a mortgage? PMI. What is PMI? Okay. How do they know? They never heard of this. Many of them, lots of our employees didn't go to a traditional college and get a personal financial planning course as part of their undergrad curriculum, right?
You'd be surprised how many don't know how to fill out their W-4.
Write a check.
It is
Or write a check.
They don't know how to write checks anymore.
I mean, you can get it pretty simple, and they will walk out loving it. We did one where it was just a simple budget. Here's how you do a budget. And I use that pyramid where you write all your debts down by interest rate or by size, and then you have all your payments. And once you pay one off, you don't spend more money. You wrap it down. And you couldn't believe how many people were paying off their debt and coming and celebrating that. One of our employees talked about the fact that she now knows that she's 2 years away from debt-free and she can quit and retire. Like, that's fair, right? That's fair. That's what we want. We want them to have a great life. Okay. Do you have a celebrations budget? I think we need to celebrate as many things as you can. And it's challenging with what you guys do because everybody's coming and going and there's not a single time or it's very difficult to get everybody put together. These are just suggestion ideas. You're going to have to sit down with your group and say, okay, here's what's going on. We think this motivates them and we're wrong. This is what we're going to have to do. Now, as a leadership team, what can we do? And how do we make sure we do it consistently over and over and over and over so that they trust us that this is part of our culture? Okay? Okay, last point, because we got to have pee breaks and get ready for our next session. This is the rule of the brilliant haberdashery. You know what a haberdasher is? It's a clothing guy. I worked for a guy named Mac McGregor, and he was the best salesman I've ever seen in my life. He was great. Every Saturday morning, and he was old, and he was grumpy, he was mean, but I loved him. And he would sit down with the whole team on Saturday morning really early, which was what we call 8:30. That was so early back then because I was in college. I just went to bed like 3 hours ago, right? So I'm up selling suits, and I'm selling $500 suits when I couldn't afford a $35 suit. And I'm selling $500 suits. And I've got a tie I got at Goodwill that's frayed at the collar, but I'm a hell of a salesman. I'm telling you, because if you sell, you get commission. So you know, you guys know, you got it. Anyway, he'd say, Mark, you sold the suit. Where are the shirts and ties? Nobody buys a suit without shirts and ties. Mark, you sold socks without shoes to go along with them or a matching belt. I mean, he was brutal. But he taught me. One thing that he did is he said, I'm going to take my very best closers, and they're the ones that wait on the customers. And until you become a closer, you support the closer. This is a really tough part of our dialogue. I think you should, there's an old phrase that says, there's nothing as unequal as treating unequals as equal. You have really superstars. You need to make sure your superstars are doing superstar activities and somebody else is backing them up. Try your very best to eliminate your superstars doing the junk that's not critical. Closers should close. And then somebody else comes in and carries it from there. Because they're such uniquely different people. Now, I don't know exactly how you're going to do that. But I do know that you try to find the way to maximize your best talent by putting them in their sweet spot. A thoroughbred racehorse is meant to do one thing, run. They put blinders on them and they say, go. You don't take them to the fair and put a little kid on them and walk them around slow. They'll buck that, they'll bite. Thoroughbreds are tough, okay? So to find those people and try your very best to make the most out of the people, what is their skill set? What are they really good at? And try to figure out a way to eliminate the junk off their list, and then you'll keep people, okay? So eliminating junk is probably going to help us eliminate frictionality of the labor force or loss of employees. I told you I don't have the answers. All I know is this is a 1 hour discussion of the fact that we all understand what the problem is, and we know the solution is that you're going to have to be creative, and your creativity is all about the personal touch, not the operational fabulousness. That's right, I made that up. Fabulousness. Okay? I believe if you give them everything you can, I think you can expect and demand the very best from them. But what I'm saying now is they're demanding that you care about who they are as people, not just the process. Okay? And I really believe that we can do that through great operations, because you can't free them up without great operations. I think you can steal employees by having a very, very good digital marketing social media campaign that includes all of the culture things that make you awesome. Okay? I think that's where we need to go from here. All right, since we're going to continue this afternoon with a open forum. I want to give everybody a 10-minute break and not necessarily handle questions. We'll do questions this afternoon at 1 o'clock with the group. Okay? Thank you guys. I love you.